Hi, this is Rabbi Zach Pleasant, and you are listening to You've Always Belonged Here, Temple Israel of Westport's new podcast. Each week, we will share moments from the Bima given by our clergy team or conversations with members of our staff or community.
It is no secret that Jews have a history of enslavement, wallowing in Egypt under the regime of Pharaoh, forced into back-breaking labor and interminable living conditions. And then, with Moses' help, we left the oppressive Egyptian regime and made our way from slavery to freedom and to the Promised Land. We get together each year at Passover to retell our story of our struggle so that we recall our experience, so that we do not forget it. And we know our journey was not without struggle. This week, today, the United States is celebrating Juneteenth. Juneteenth celebrates June 19th, 1865, when almost 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation went into effect, federal troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to ensure and force the liberation of the final individuals still enslaved there and in the South. Unfortunately, implementation of these freedoms was initially limited in areas remaining under Confederate control. Finally, too many years after their freedom was announced, people who had been enslaved in this country were free. And now, over 150 years later, we finally have a way to recognize and celebrate such a momentous occasion. For in 2021, President Biden enacted the law that created the federal holiday. People of color finally have a moment of recognition that they deserve to honor their history and their experience. The journey of the Black community to full emancipation and rights under the law has also not been without immense struggle. And recalling the experience of these people is vital for their communal identity. We teach often that those who forget history are condemned to repeat it. We don't want to repeat the history of persecution and human chattel. It's inhumane. Many of the celebrations of Juneteenth take the form of elements that enslaved individuals were unable to practice while in slavery. This includes open prayer services, cookouts, parades, and even dressing in fancy clothes. The color red in particular is seen on many African flags as a representation of the blood shed during the fights for liberation, as well as the resilience of the Black community. So eating red food is very common. We are a multicultural Jewish community. Jews of all colors count themselves among our numbers, both for the Jewish community, but also for all marginalized communities. When we make the community safer for one group, we tend to make it safer for even more people to feel part of our community. We were strangers in the land of Egypt. We know our history of freedom and liberation, and we are told not to stand idly by while our neighbors struggle. At this point, we choose to celebrate the liberation of our Black neighbors, to honor their experience of slavery. We acknowledge them. We say, I see you, I support you, I am with you. Together, we must recognize the shared trauma of our pasts so that we can ensure none of us are condemned to repeat it. It is imperative to us that we celebrate this holiday, knowing it is one step on the journey of recognizing the past and current systemic racism that people of color face in this country. We can work together, Jews and people of color alike, to dream of a world and a future where everyone's rights are upheld and maintained. May we continue to work for a world full of more compassion. May we tonight eat red food. I've heard red velvet cake is a favorite. May we celebrate the cultural heritage of a people with a history of enslavement. May we elevate members of the Black community, honoring them and their experience, for we too know what it was like to be slaves. May we honor this day of Juneteenth and hope for a better future as we all engage in tikkun olam, in repairing the world. Amen.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of You've Always Belonged Here. Be sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. To learn more about Temple Israel, visit our website, tiwestport.org, follow us on Instagram at Temple Israel Westport, or like us on Facebook, Temple Israel of Westport, Connecticut.